up in just about 5 minutes here. Oh, I'm not sure why that started. So thank you all for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit today about exploring some ideas of how to work with farmers markets on issues of increasing community access. I will be your moderator. My name is Dara Bloom. I'm an assistant professor and local foods extension specialist in the Department of Youth, Family, and Community Sciences at NC State University. Also joining us and moderating today is Hardison-Moody, who's also an assistant professor in the Department of Youth, Family, and Community Sciences, and Susan Jakes, who is the Associate State Program Leader for Community and Rural Development, and also an assistant professor at NC State. So just to give you, just to start, I think probably a lot of you have already maybe done the audio setup wizard, but just so you know where that is, it's up in the upper left-hand corner. It can help you get the volume right for your microphone and your audio, as well as the volume is right down there. And then in the lower left-hand corner, we have the chat box. So you feel free, please, to type any questions that you have during the webinar right there, and we can address them when we get to the question and answer portion. So just to share the agenda with you today, we're going to start off hearing from Mike McCreary from ASAP, who will talk a little bit about sharing the harvest and bridging the divide between farmers markets and low-income shoppers. Then we're going to turn to 3 different case studies from Lee Guth, who is an FCS agent in Lincoln County, Erin Jobe, who's the market manager at the Carborough Farmers Market, and Kelly Beasley, who is the FCS agent in Craven County, and also brings with her today Marva Fisher-Baldwin. And we will hear more from them soon. And then Susan Jakes is going to help us have a facilitated discussion where we will talk about how to balance the dual needs of farmers markets of both supporting farmers and also increasing access for consumers. And at that point, we'll be really interested in hearing some of your thoughts and ideas and experiences working with these issues too. So we're going to start off with Mike McCreary, who works for ASAP as the manager of the Asheville City Market, which is a farmer-led market with locations in downtown Asheville and South Asheville. His work with ASAP also involves training, consulting, and supporting farmers markets and vendors, specializing in sales, marketing, promotion, management, operations, and SNAP access. So Mike, I'm going to turn that over to you.
I'm here.
Great.
So as was mentioned, I work with ASAP in Western North Carolina. Was started in Asheville, North Carolina. And this slide is just to share with you some of the programs that ASAP is engaged with. I'm going to talk a little bit about the local food research center. But the last thing on the list is the Asheville City Market, which opened in 2008. And I've been the manager of that since it opened. And my role at ASAP is largely to manage that market, but also to provide training and support to other farmers markets in the area and across the state. So ASAP it runs its own market, Asheville City Market. It also tries to provide support for farmers and vendors at other markets as well. So this is a snapshot of our website, and I picked the local food research center page. There's a document there called Sharing the Harvest, which was the title of this section of the webinar. There is a lot of information that ASAP can provide, and access through the website is probably the best way to go to find something you might be looking for. If there are any questions about anything I've talked about or shared today, please, and that don't get dealt with in the webinar, please feel free to visit the website or contact me directly, and I'll follow up. So these 2 resources are things that I've relied on, Sharing the Harvest, which is a document that was produced by ASAP, and then the Guide to SNAP and EBT at Farmers Markets in North Carolina. Both these documents are, I consider to be some of the best pieces of information in terms of both broadening access to markets for all customers, but also for those of low income. They are a little dated. I think the one on the right, the guide, is being updated, but I haven't seen the latest version. And as I said, these and other resources are available at ASAP's website to download. And and access there. So one of the things that I try to keep in mind as an employee of ASAP trying to support all markets is that the strategies for increasing access involve not improving access and growing customer base for all potential shoppers. So there are things that I have talked about in workshops and shared that really are broader in terms of trying to just increase the slice of the pie of shoppers that buy their fresh produce and foods at markets, all shoppers. Of course, today we're focusing on the sharing the harvest segment of that, which is a focus on attracting and retaining low-income shoppers. But sometimes this distinction isn't so clear that you're trying to improve access for all customers, and you're doing things that also, of course, make it easier for those of low income to shop at markets. So in some ways this division is artificial, but there are some special needs or some special obstacles that low-income shoppers have to overcome and that markets have to deal with, but there are also some overlapping opportunities there. So in all the documents I referred to, and some of them are really excellent, I tried to capture everything and put it on one slide in terms of obstacles and opportunities. And this is a deceiving list because it's not as simple as it looks. And I'm always troubled when I see or share information like this that it seems so straightforward. It seems so logical, and well, of course, but it's harder to do. It's easier to put on a slide than it is to actually do it. Of these four things, one of the simplest, and it's gotten simpler lately, obstacles to overcome, is the second one, which is payment options. More and more vendors at farmers markets and farmers markets across the state have received assistance and are receiving assistance to set up SNAP programs at their markets, which then can extend to credit and debit. And also, many markets are in a position where they can accept other payment options like WIC and the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. So in some ways, at least currently, the obstacle of being unable for folks who have benefits being unable to use them at markets like SNAP benefits, that one has a lot of support. There's a lot of funding, and maybe we'll talk about that. And I'm sure some of you are aware of the options out there now to facilitate SNAP access. It's sort of the first step. So while it's not as easy as that, because there's more involved in operating a SNAP program at a market than just getting a terminal and getting the tokens, it does seem to be that there's a lot of support for that right now, and that may be the simplest obstacle to overcome from many markets. And I hasten to add that some of these generalizations that I share, there are always exceptions and there are always circumstances that make it different than sort of the broad stroke I'm sharing. The first item, market appeal, I feel like sometimes this gets lost in the discussion. It's kind of a, if you build it, they will come. We need to pay attention to the quality of the market and the management of the product mix at a market to ensure that it has all the things listed there. Variety, selection, and abundance, but also affordability. And this is one of those obstacles or opportunities that applies for all customers. Of course, the affordability is something that's particularly important for the low-income shoppers to attract them and have the market be appealing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about helping vendors and markets become more appealing in just a little bit. But the quality of the product that's being offered, and when I say the product, I mean the market in whole and its vendors and the mix of product that's at the market, is as much a foundation and can be as much of both obstacle or opportunity as anything else. So it's important to be able to support farmers markets in being the best they can be, offering the best product mix that they can offer. And that's not easy, and it varies widely from market to market. So that can be a fundamental challenge or obstacle that has to be overcome. and sometimes I think that's just not always part of the discussion as we focus on the more immediate needs and concerns that are in front of us in terms of access. The last two, comfort and convenience, these are misleading. It seems like it would be easy to imagine what a welcoming market looks like. But what's welcoming to one person could be off-putting to another, and how can a market be more welcoming if the folks who we're trying to welcome are attempting to use their SNAP benefits at market? How familiar can a market? I mean, markets become familiar to customers, but initially that initial obstacle of getting folks to feel comfortable can be tricky. User-friendly, I'm going to talk a little bit more about, in particular in terms of SNAP. And convenience may be one of the most difficult ones. And again, on this slide, I've tried to just cram in all kinds of lists and concerns and obstacles that are out there from different documents and different resources. Location, it's clear that location is an element of convenience. Some markets don't have a great deal of choice in terms of their location. Same with schedule. Some schedules work better for some folks and others for other folks. And we've experimented at our Asheville City Market South with schedule changes, and it always seems like you've provided more access for some, but then denied it to others. A real problem for markets, and I think this is true for everyone, but in particular for folks with low income who may have challenges in terms of transportation and time, the one-stop shopping. Markets just aren't locations for one-stop shopping, and by that I mean the non-market type products that folks need each week that they would not find at a farmer's market. So you can take steps to become more convenient in terms of where you're located and what your hours are, but there are other challenges that just won't go away. You can do the best that you can to work on them, but they still exist. And I guess the message is we just do the best we can to mitigate those things that we can't completely overcome. So I wanted to focus. Broad statements can sometimes not be as helpful as more specific things. So I'm trying to now focus on some specific steps that farmers markets can take to increase access. The obvious one is to offer benefits-based payment options like SNAP. So this is an image of the SNAP token at Asheville City Market. This, as I referred to earlier, has become increasingly less difficult to accomplish, although it can still remain a significant challenge for many markets, especially smaller markets that have limited human resources and limited time and limited funds to manage a program like this. But it is sort of the foundation of, obviously, if folks can't use their SNAP tokens at a market, that would be a significant obstacle. We need to take steps. Somehow I feel a little uncomfortable. This isn't news, I don't think. We need to find ways to provide the information and the support to those who we wish to attract to the market, whether low income or not, to have them be more comfortable, to have the information provided them, assist them in shopping effectively, and having it be a good experience, and having their products, the food and produce and such, be useful to them and be part of their regular routine. So cooking demos are typical. I would suggest, based on our experience at Asheville City Market, that sort of the best cooking demo are the kinds of demos that feature meals or dishes, and that include some affordable and convenient foods and recipes and dishes that you could share. We do chef demos, but I would suggest that's a different sort of thing, and having this information be conveyed in a way that's helpful to the recipient is the key goal. Chef demos are great, and chefs are wonderful, but often they're cooking things that folks, anyone, myself included, wouldn't necessarily prepare, and certainly would be difficult for folks on a budget. a checklist of user-friendly best practices. And as I said, there are a lot of other resources with lots of lists about how to create a market that is user-friendly, that embraces the best practices for increasing access. This is fairly basic stuff. Some of it's things that we don't always think about, like the feature pricing at $1 increments for SNAP users. And often you have folks, obviously the customers, but perhaps the market manager who appreciates how this adds to the user-friendliness of a market to allow customers to purchase things when they know that from their tokens or their SNAP benefits they won't be able to receive change. So having items priced in $1 increments is just easier for them to access then. The second point about encouraging vendors to offer a variety of purchase options is something that applies across the board. You know, there are all kinds of folks walking by a vendor's booth in a day. All kinds of preferences there on how to shop, how to buy, how sensitive price can be. So it is a challenge for vendors who have a lot of other things to do to try to figure out, do I sell this by the pound, do I sell it by the bag, do I sell it bulk at a slightly lower rate? But this message is true for all customers and applies to lower income folks too, that the more the vendors can offer different options in terms of their pricing and how the product is presented, the more likely they will appeal to a greater number of folks who are walking by, including the folks who may be using SNAP benefits or be low income. Of course, it's desirable if all the vendors who are selling SNAP-eligible foods also accept the SNAP benefit at their booth. And I say if possible because there are many circumstances where a market-wide SNAP program won't work in particular circumstances in a situation where there may be some vendors who can accept SNAP but not all. But ideally, and perhaps this goes without saying, I don't know, your SNAP customer, your WIC customer, whatever benefits user there is represented in the market, it's best that they feel like any other customer and that there's nothing special about the benefit they're using, there's nothing that sets them apart from the other customer. And one of that, in having a uniform acceptance of SNAP or any other benefit-based payment is one of the ways that it just makes it feel all like we're all just on equal playing field. I can't overestimate the need for consistent and helpful staff or volunteers. This applies to vendors too, but that's a whole other topic on how to train or facilitate the way vendors interact with their customers. But I've said this before in other workshops that the person who sells our SNAP tokens at Asheville City Market is probably as important as any element at that market in terms of contributing to having that market feel usable and in terms of increasing its appeal and improving the access. In particular now I'm referring to our SNAP customers. Our assistant manager, Trish, is consistently friendly and helpful. People can count on her being there if folks have questions. So that's important. And again, easier to say than it is to accomplish, especially in markets that have less resources. One of the things that we focused on, it's not new, but we're coming back around to it, that there appear to be many service providers and community groups that are really not aware of the options for their clients or the folks that they serve to shop at farmers markets. So this is something that I think that in communities there need to be partnerships built at a minimum that get the word out. And I know that this can be frustrating. You know, you can do rack cards, you can do direct mailing, and all those things contribute in small steps to improving awareness. It's great when there's someone in a community, in a partnership, or in a service provider who becomes sort of a champion for farmers markets and is supportive of letting folks know that this is a place where you can shop and use your benefits. But everyone's busy, everyone has a lot to do, and it can be challenging to effectively get the word out in such a way that I just got distracted by questions, but I think we're holding on to those for a second. Okay, get the word out in a way that actually reaches the customer that you're trying to reach. I don't know. I think there are a couple examples of this out in the world of late, and maybe some of our presenters later can have some things to share. Another possibility that's being considered and that I've wondered about a lot is because so much of marketing, so much of promotion, at least the forms that are effective, involve word of mouth. It feels like involving the folks who receive the benefit in getting the word out might be a method to increase the effectiveness of our outreach. We're planning to experiment in August with a Bring a Friend incentive at Asheville City Market, where SNAP recipients receive an incentive if they bring a friend on SNAP recipients to the market, and I can keep you posted on if folks are interested in how that works out. Again, communication is challenging and can be difficult to be effective. Engagement, which is a distinction I've started to make in my head, we can talk, but if we can engage folks in some sort of give and take, like by involving folks with benefits in our outreach and promotions, perhaps that will enjoy a higher level of success. Finally, I just wanted to share that as I said at the outset, there are markets need to pay attention to how well they're marketing, how well they're presenting what they're offering to their customers. It's the foundation is to have something that's appealing, not just for a segment of the community, but for the entire customer base. This is a slide from a presentation I do for vendors on how to sell more at market, and this, along with some of the other information I referred to, is available on our website. If you wish to access any of this and have any trouble finding it, just email me. This is the home page for a section called Hosting a Farmer's Market. There's some videos and old webinars and lots of documents that are available. I think we're doing. That's my presentation. Are we? Great. Yes.
Thanks, Mike. That was really really helpful information. I think we had one question in the chat box from Karen Stanley, but it looks like maybe Karen had that question answered. She was asking a little bit about what recommendations you have other than sort of SNAP and incentives to get low-income people to the markets to begin with. But Karen, did that? I think that once you got to the section about community outreach, that maybe some of those questions were answered, or and actually, in general, if anyone. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, anyone, if you want to type in a question in the chat box right now, we can take a couple of questions, and then we're saving some for the end too, when we'll have a larger discussion.
Yeah, I can't answer any questions from Karen. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Does anyone else have any questions that they want to put in the chat box, or you can also raise your hand and ask it as well.
I do want to say, while we're seeing if there are any more questions coming, in the question that was posted here about perception, yeah, I do want to just respond briefly by saying perception can be really challenging. The perception that farmers markets are unwelcoming, or the perception that the pricing there is higher than elsewhere. Sometimes perceptions are based on reality, and sometimes they're distortions of reality. But I don't have anything magical to say about how to correct perceptions that are wrong, other than that's part of what one needs to pay attention. On my end, I know things, and I am aware, and my perceptions are based on the things that I've seen. And sometimes it's easy to forget that other folks aren't necessarily seeing it from the same point of view or having the same perception. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Sort of the unstated concerns that are out there that may be difficult. Somebody asked if
it looks like it looks like Asher has a question. And Asher, if you want to hit the talk button and ask your question, that'd be great.
Sounds good. Thank you. My name's Asher. I'm with NC Choices. Thanks, Mike, for that presentation. That was great. I seldom hear any discussion of increasing debit card access amongst vendors, and have always noted that as something that may be an opportunity or an obstacle. And I just wanted to get your feedback on that, if you had any ideas or opinions around that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that in my earlier slide about payment options, I think I put the answer, and if this doesn't answer you, please ask it again. The more payment options that are available, the better off the market will be, generally speaking. Debit and credit payments can be piggybacked on SNAP, so it actually can be a package. But the short answer is, in my opinion, the more payment options the market offers, the more likely it can appeal to the variety of folks who are walking through the market and the variety of payment options that would improve access for them. Debit I think that you can add debit and credit as a standalone addition to a market, but we did SNAP, and those two things were added to the SNAP program easily. It's kind of all part of one package if you want to go that route. It doesn't increase the cost, but that's a different issue. But I hope that was helpful. If not, I could say more.
Looks like Asher's saying yes, that was helpful. We had a couple of other questions come through. One again from Karen asking if this material will be covered at your December training.
Oh, I think that question is referring to the planned state-wide conference in December, and the answer is we haven't finalized the content for that, but I know that SNAP Access is going to be a significant part of that conference. So that's a yes without detail.
Great. And then we had another question asking if FNEP had been incorporated into any outreach efforts.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, well I can actually talk about that a little bit from the extension point of view. And so FNEP is the Expanded Food and Nutrition Education Program. And so some of us, Annie Hardison-Moody, who's one of the moderators, and myself have been working with the FNEP program to incorporate some more local foods aspects and trainings. And we're also piloting a farmers market tour program this summer with FNEP as well as with SNAP-Ed to try to, again, sort of familiarize people with farmers markets. But actually we felt that having this webinar was a way to sort of address, not only trying to incorporate farmers markets into FNEP and familiarize FNEP participants with farmers markets, but also to have people who are, giving classes like that and working with programs like that, to have a webinar like this that addresses some of those other aspects of how to make the market itself also more accessible to consumers. So I hope that answers your question. And I know we had a couple of more questions come through, but if it's okay, we will have some time at the end. We can revisit them. I've taken a note of them, and we can come back to them. But I think right now it would be great if we could move on to the next presenter. So hold on to your questions. You can, again, type them into the chat box as we go, and we'll be keeping track of them, and I promise we'll have time at the end to come back to them. But Mike, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And so next we're going to turn it over to Lee Goof, who is the Extension Agent in Family and Consumer Sciences in Lincoln County. Focusing on adult and multicultural education, Lee Allen Goof received her master's degree from the American University in Washington, D.C. and joined NC Cooperative Extension in 2005. Her responsibilities include family financial resource management, housing, food safety, plus the promotion of local food, farms, and agricultural tourism. With advanced training in group process management, Lee works statewide designing and leading facilitations to help groups reach organizational goals. So Lee, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Glad to be with everybody. I did want to go back to Asher's question about the debit access. Asher, at our markets, that has been the leading sales. Last year we saw 3-to-1 debit to EBT SNAP sales at our electronic card readers. Our meat vendor at one of the markets brought in about $500 through electronic sales. And I really think that's a crucial piece, is to bring access to everybody. So I would not overlook the debit piece. It is usually cheaper to accept debit than credit. So anyway, for whatever that's worth. I wanted to share with you a little bit about Lincoln County's farmers markets. When I started 10 years ago, we had one market in our county, and it was April through October, and it had been moved all over town, trying to get more customers. At one point it was in a parking lot that had a large laundromat and a Latino restaurant in hopes to reach the Latino market. And it didn't do well there, and so they moved it again. But it was always in parking lots over a 15-year period. So here's what's happened since then. We have seen some great growth in a 10-year period, and I always like to tell folks that it really takes time. It's only looking back after 10 years that we can see that we were making progress when things seemed mighty bleak. I do feel like expanding locations and times is a way to reach more customers from any demographic. Now we have one permanent shelter. We have one market that is open year-round, at least once to twice a month during the winter season. In the height of the summer, where we are right now, we have 3 days a week in our county where you can access a Lincoln County farmers market. And we have 3 locations now. The work that I've done really builds on what the agents before me did, and the horticulture agent was a large piece of that. In years past, he had worked on season extension with our vendors. He also had a Latino vegetable demonstration project, again trying to build the Latino market, reaching farmers with a Latino background, but also trying to bring foods that Latino families recognize to our market. And we also have a large Hmong population in Lincoln and Catawba County. My colleague Durjong in Catawba County has continued to work with the Hmong population and bringing them into the market. They are your favorite flower vendors in many places, but they also have fabulous vegetables to offer. So in a 10-year period, we've seen our market go from April to October. That same market, you're looking at it now, has a permanent shelter, and we run from April. Last year we ran into 2015 January with local tomatoes. We've seen the farmers take a lot of the initiative when they saw the market continuing to grow, when they felt support. They started looking for new ways to extend their season. We never had broccoli. We never had cauliflower. And we've got them this week at our markets. We never had we had one vendor who had asparagus. That's still an area we want to grow in. We never had purple potatoes. They were a huge hit last year. So there's some steps that local vendors are taking now that they see a growing market to make that market extension work and bring in more customers. In terms of new location development, that's what we've done a lot of. It's come from community request. The first market expansion we did came from the Denver market. I'm going to move forward to that one. This is a higher demographic community at one end of our county, high with retirees and master gardeners, lots of commuters into Charlotte, and they continued to ask for a farmer's market. So this started in 2007. I formed a focus group, and from that focus group we developed that community support. They helped us even determine a location to host that market. So that's what that market looks like today. It is still outside. It is hosted at our local school ground. this year, when we found out we should have been paying a fee to use the school grounds, we had several folks step forward, and our school superintendent step forward and make a policy recommendation change to the Board of Education. And they waived that fee, and that's a great partnership to see come out of that. So that's the first market expansion that we did. I want to go backwards. The second one we did is at our local Department of Social Services. That market has been in existence for 3 years, and it came out of a conversation with one of the staff at DSS who worked with SNAP. He initially recommended this to me and wanted to see it follow the SNAP recertification schedule. So clients have to come in every so many months to be recertified, and he thought that would be a great opportunity. Certain days of the month, have the market on those days when that audience was coming to the market. Sounded like a great idea, but when I looked at the recertification schedule for the year, it was never anything consistent. It might be the first Tuesday, then it was on a Thursday, and then we're moving to a Wednesday. It didn't make any sense to the general public. And we knew that DSS market was going to be a public market, not just for DSS clients or staff. So we had to, it was a great idea, we had to move away from that because you couldn't even advertise it. It just was such a random kind of schedule. We moved to twice a month, and from there we've moved to a weekly market at DSS. One of the challenges there has been to start a market from scratch, and we had an incentive for vendors, and I'm going to move to those slides. We incentivized this with our vendors. We didn't charge them a fee, and that rapport with your vendors is so important. They had to trust me, and I told them, I said, you know, this may fail. It may fail terribly, but we're never going to know unless we give it a try. And these vendors were already paying a fee to participate in our downtown market, and I said, you know, that's enough. Let's give it a try at this different location. We were working with the community transformation monies through our health department. They helped provide a sign. They were supporting this in many ways. And it has worked. Now, it started with several vendors. It's narrowed itself down to one main vegetable vendor. Occasionally we'll have somebody else, but it's not big. But he's done extremely well. When we opened this DSS market, we had the EBT debit machine to offer. Started with several vendors. As they started declining, I couldn't justify a staff person being there or a volunteer. And for a while I thought, gosh, we're going to have to not use the SNAP machine there because we don't have enough people to be able to ensure its authenticity and its the safety and the travel of the money between folks. And then we, as Asher just said in the chat box, we had the spirit. We decided, look, we're going to make this work. So we worked out a way for that main vegetable vendor. We trained him on how to use the machine. We worked out a way of signing the machine in and out with the extension staff, of verifying how many tokens came in, how many were sold, how many left the building that morning, how many came in with the vendor that afternoon. So it was a challenge that we managed to meet. And last year at the market, he did $700 in debit and $284 in SNAP, and we felt like that was successful. That was the amount that was sold at that site. So that was basically what I wanted to share with you about the DSS location. It should be easier and easier to run markets like this now that individual farmers are being able to be certified for EBT and debit. The gentleman that consistently is at this location has now been approved to accept EBT from his home farm stand, and he can take that machine with him wherever he is selling, and that's a real exciting thing. They're having additional sign-ups for that program in Charlotte later in June, and I'll be glad to pass that information on if folks don't know about it. I do want to go backwards to the Denver market and tell you one thing that failed there that I think is interesting to know. This is a Saturday-only market. It is run year-round, but we tried an evening market here, which did not work. We did a dot survey of customers and vendors on a beautiful Saturday in June, and they told us when they would love to shop in the evening. And there's a big difference between customers that are there on a Saturday morning in June and the customers and vendors who will come on an August afternoon when it's been 100 degrees. There really was just no participation. We might have one vendor who'd show up. People would drive through and not even stop in terms of the customers. You really have to build that the vendor base that's going to support you and be consistent for a period of time to make sure that that market has a chance to get off its feet. And so that was the other funny thing about that is that you're surveying customers that are there on a Saturday and not folks who can't come on Saturday and who might come on a weeknight. So that was a real challenge. Moving on to the Apple Festival. The Apple Festival in Lincolnton is an annual event. Again, it started as ag tourism. It started through the extension office, and about 50,000 people come into downtown Lincolnton one Saturday a year. And traditionally, this festival had a farmers market venue. Farmers from the county could come and sell their products. It's been this way for years. Once the farmers market shelter was built downtown, it was actually 1 block away from where the farmers market venue was during this festival. And so for several years, once the shelter coexisted with the festival, farmers just moved to the festival grounds that day, and we didn't do anything special. But a couple of years ago, I realized that this was a great opportunity to advertise to our EBT and debit customers. So for the past 2 years, I have been set up at the festival ground all day long at the farmers market venue. It is, again, a block away. I can see the permanent shelter that's open regular basis during the year. And so I talk to people about how easy it is to use debit and credit, that and I point down the street, we're right there most Saturdays throughout the year, and we also allowed customers to try the EBT and debit machine with the farmers that are in the festival who were also approved to accept it at our market. So we were able to educate a lot of people. You see a lot of people when 50,000 folks come through your grounds. We also had a cooking demo there that day, so a lot of people stopped to taste Apple products and to watch the cooking demo. Just an example of a couple of ways we tried to reach the Latino community. Have had some help translating flyers and then a sign that's at our markets. With the flyer, this was a market match opportunity that we had flyers printed in English and in Spanish, and we're offering EBT SNAP clients a $5 match if they spent $5 at the farmers market. We did not see a lot of success from this. And again, another funny story from someone who studied multicultural things forever, and we still make mistakes with that. I am a white lady, and I walk door to door through a poor community that is traditionally African American and handed out flyers, which didn't even make sense when I looked back on it. I'm not from that community. There's no trust there with me. People did not respond, and this market is within a stone's throw of a subsidized housing community of disabled folks. And again, it was one of those best intentions that didn't work. Right now we don't have funding to do this again, so I'm not sure if we'd try it differently if that funding reappeared. But again, you do your best, and as we learn more, we try to do better. The last two things I wanted to show you were, again, kind of a different approach to getting folks to the farmers market. This was probably about 6 to 8 years ago when the fresh fruit and vegetable grants were available for schools. And the principal at the Title I school that my children attended approached me and asked me if I knew how to write grants. He knew I worked with farmers, and would I write a grant for the school to receive the fresh fruit and vegetable snacks during the day. And I did, and we got a $13,000 grant. And one of the things that I wrote in the grant and he agreed to was to let me pass out flyers to all the families in that school about the farmers market. And again, we've got a great colleague who's a good design person that adapted a flyer to be child friendly, and we sent those out. Lincoln County Rotary, we have a very active Rotary in our community. They do an annual auction that's a 2-day event, televised on cable television. Proceeds go to a loan fund that they do. And for several years we offered a farmer's market basket. It's usually early in the spring, and this one year that I'm thinking of, we had a basket with gift certificates to the market. It had a Michael Pollan book in it. It had samples of honey and jams, some goat's milk soaps, an agricultural tourism brochure, and we valued it at about $65. And that was, again, a way we got on cable television. We got some promotion to a different community and tried to build more customers. That's basically what I have for my presentation. I don't know if there are any questions at this point, but I'll be glad to answer them now or later.
No, thank you so much, Lee. That was all really fantastic information. I think we're running a little bit over time, so I think we're going to hold off on questions. We had just one, but we'll hold off until the end.
Certainly.
So that we can, if that's okay, we're going to keep going and introduce Erin Jobe, who is the market manager at the Carborough Farmers Market. So Erin graduated from the College of Agriculture at the University of Wisconsin in 2009, and she moved to Raleigh to begin working with local farmers markets. She worked for 2 years as the assistant manager for the Raleigh Downtown Farmers Market and helped that market establish a SNAP EBT program. And she began working for the Carborough Farmers Market in 2011, managing special events and food outreach programming, and took over full-time as a manager in 2013. And she does a lot of great work in terms of community access, which I will turn over to her so that she can talk a little bit more about that now.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
I think if there's any way for you to turn your volume up just a little bit, that might be good.
Is now a little bit better?
That sounds better to me. Anyone? Yes, we're getting some yes in the chat box. Thanks.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. So yeah, the Carborough Farmers Market, I've been working with them for about 5 years now in some capacity. We have been offering a SNAP EBT program for almost 5 years as well, it's had many different forms over that time. And our market has been around since 1970. And we have about 60 vendors, and we operate year-round. We operate Saturdays year-round, and then Wednesdays season, April through November. We have a shelter we have a shelter for the market located just off of the area in Carborough. So what I thought I would do is just give you guys an overview of what our food access strategy looks like now, and how we got there quickly. So, like I said, we started accepting SNAP back in 2010, and we've been regularly able to accept SNAP EBT throughout that time, and off and on we've had some massive incentives to go along with that. Right now, partnership with UNC Healthcare, healthy food incentives, so we are able to offer a $5 to our shoppers. We are also really have an assistant manager that her job, we also call her the outreach coordinator. Her name is Margaret Crome-Lucan. Some of you may have worked with her. But she has a certain time specifically to food outreach. And so she has over the last 2 years really developed an incredible strategy for that, and different components when we think about food outreach. And number one are those double bucks and to accept SNAP EBT. That is critical in our experience in getting shoppers out of the market. Having those double bucks for us, it increases word of mouth, and more than anything, when we approach loans, it gives us a little bit more to not only do we accept their their food stamps, we also can help them stretch them a little bit further and get a little bit more further. But we have really stepped into some new to see how else we can expand access of the market, really think outside of the box of just low-income shoppers. Like Mike mentioned, and the previous speaker, we have found that we really need to focus on creating relationships within the community. What our strategy has been. One way that we is we have we've done a lot of off-site visits to stations that are already working with families. We are not able to immediately step in, cold call, create relationships, people that we would like to shop at the. There are so many people in our community that are with families through several nonprofit organizations and all health service organizations. And Margaret's main focus has been involving herself in health coalitions and groups that are working with these families to know the people that are in touch with the different populations that we would like to see shop at market. That has gone incredibly well. We have created ties with the Burmese refugee population in the area, as well as some Latino families in the area, low-income shoppers as well. And so what we do typically will organizations that will allow us to come in, speak to their families, and what that looks like is we to parent that the Mental Health Coalition is offering, or English as a second classes, or a birth refugee assistance class that is being spoken about the market. And we have found that very beneficial in that it's nice to take us, put us in some unfamiliar situations, asking these shoppers to be the ones come out to the market and be in that situation where they don't know what's going on. What we want to create is a situation when they do get to market, they know someone there, someone at the welcome booth, or whether it's someone from their agency that has out to market. And that's been sort of our is once we have created a relationship with within the organization, we try to bring that organization families out to market when that makes sense for them. And that familiar face and having someone that knows what's going on with those families and has the with them, they're the one that is making it a safe place for them and recommending the market to them as they try out. So we do the off information sessions about the market, and then we bring those groups to market. And one way that makes this worth everyone's time is that we, I'll show you here, we offer market buck incentives as a coupon program. And basically what we're doing is giving a free chance to check out the market. So when we go do a tour or we'll have a group come in, we'll send them off with market bucks, a coupon to cash in on market bucks. And this gives them a chance to come out to the market sort of no risk. They can try it out, get $5 or $8 market, and we use that to explain to them, our hours and what to find, and that sort of information. And we have really high redemption rates with these coupon programs, especially worked with a partner that is a ticket for the market. So that's really been the key here is there's someone on their end, or some representative that they trust. You know what, this market, you could benefit from shopping here. And so we really focus. So along with the coupon program and doing some off-site outreach to the market, we have also done outreach to specifically the people working in the organization. So we've done tours specifically for health service workers in the social services organizations in the area. Explain to them what the market is and how their families benefit from it, and taking that step back and saying, we could probably benefit from spending some time creating some new advocates for the market. And that we've had some good reception to those tours, and we've had people come out and from several different and learn about the market and how they might be able to benefit from it. Let's see here. So one last thing that, like Mike had mentioned, at food access, we're not just looking at income shoppers that have SNAP EBT that they can market. We're looking a little broader to any population that we currently see coming to the market. So now that is certainly low-income shoppers, but for us that would be several other minority groups. It would be UNC students as well as the elderly population. Those groups, then we start to think about how can the market fit into their lives and what could we do in what situations is shopping the market beneficial to them. And that's spurred several different sorts of programming. For students, we've done this year to UNC students that focus on teaching them simple, easy, cheap ways to cook and add healthy foods to things they may already be eating, ramen noodles. And that's also been very successful as far as engaging in education. And we really seeing the benefits of the approach of how can benefit from the market and when does that for them, because it doesn't always make sense. For example, we work with a Burmese refugee population, and we found out quickly through working that it doesn't make sense to discuss market on Saturdays. They have several other, including church, that they're going to on Saturdays, and the way their styles are lined up, Wednesdays actually make sense. A lot of them are working night jobs, and they can catch the Wednesday market before they go and work their night shift. And those sort of learning lessons don't happen unless you are communicating with someone that knows those families. That director of a nonprofit that works with these families is the one that taught us that insight about them. So lastly, we have also shifted our focus in the last year towards youth, and we have developed a curriculum of cooking classes and also just basically a kids club where we have a different activity each week based on how many they can get market bucks to spend. And that has been really successful because we can come back to those relationships created with these different organizations and ask them to talk about these programs. And we were really excited to see that we filled up our programs before we even started through our normal customer base about them. We were able to fill up all our cooking classes just with low-income and minority families' children, and that was a big aha that working with families and engaging youth with some of these underserved populations was really well received, and we were really happy to do that. So lastly, just a quick thought of what we see our next steps needing to be. I think that we really need to make sure that we're getting to the point where we need to make sure that that there's somebody that can talk with the Spanish-speaking population at the market, and a particular person there at the welcome booth. That's been a big problem for us. I'm sorry, I'm not clicking, but the slides are going back and forth. Lastly, we really think we could benefit from collaborating with other markets. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm just now looking at the chat thing.
Yeah, you're kind of like breaking in and out a little bit, but I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Like if it's partly my internet or what. I'm not sure what to have you do about it. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry about that. I'll try to speak slowly through this last part. So I think that we could really benefit from collaborating with other markets. We'd like to see us cross-promoting other markets except DBT, because that seems like the most beneficial to social services agencies to tell their clients. Several markets are able to accept in the area. That would increase the number of and make it much more of a better option for them. And lastly, we're looking at diversity among our vendors. So if we are able to add in some Hispanic vendors and more Burmese refugees, we would have much more success reaching those populations. And that to be true with just adding one Burmese refugee vendor 2 years ago, and we've seen an increase in our engagement with that since then. Sorry if you guys couldn't hear well. Please feel free to type any questions if that didn't work out.
Great, thank you so much. We can take maybe one or two questions right now, and then we will have a little bit of time left towards the end to have some questions. Does anyone have a question for Erin? Okay, well, if there aren't any questions right now, I think we can move on to our next speaker. There we go. So oh, sorry, we've got one question. Let's take one question really quickly. Emma is asking, where did you hold the kids' cooking classes? Was it right at the market?
Yes, we held the cooking classes at the market, and we advertised through a few services agencies and at a Latino health fair. But yeah, they were all on at the market.
Okay, great. So our next speaker is Kelly Beasley, who received her undergraduate degree in Family and Consumer Science from Campbell University and will graduate in December with a master's degree in Agricultural Education and Extension. She's been an FCS agent in Craven County since 2005, and in April she started working also in Cataract County. She has a 5-year-old son who will be starting kindergarten in August. And joining Kelly today is Marva Fisher-Baldwin. Marva has a BA in English from Shaw University and an MA in Education Administration from East Carolina University. Marva is the author of 2 books and has a weekly radio program. She lives on the farm her parents owned and on which she was born and worked in various crops, and both her daughter and grandson have chosen to build their homes on the farm as well. The retired Marva remains active in her community, church, and in Genesis 457 CDC, through which she manages Joseph Community Market Farmers Market in New Bern. She says the farmers market keeps her busy with trainings, visits, and seeking innovative ways to bring healthy food choices to underserved populations in need of it. So Kelly and Marva, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, good morning. I'm hoping that everyone can hear me okay. I guess just give me a check mark if everything's good. If not, just write in the chat box. I'm going to briefly go over the New Bern Farmers Market, and the slides that you're seeing are some food samplings demos that I did, but let me go over the Farmers Market first. The New Bern Farmers Market is actually located downtown in New Bern, and it's been operating since 1984. It is a year-round farmers market. It's actually open on Tuesdays, which they just started doing that, from 10 to 2, and on Saturdays from 8 until 2. The market is made up of course, a diverse group of vendor members. So what you see one Saturday or one Tuesday, you may not see the next month. So the pictures that you're seeing here, these are kind of old pictures, but these are the ones I just grabbed and threw up there. I get local produce donated from our local producers and whatever produce is in season that month. So for example, you'll see at the bottom where it's got Kermit eggplant. Of course, I had never heard of this before, and I was like, this may be good to, take to the market, let folks sample it, and then walk 2 booths down, and then they're able to purchase the produce. The top picture of the boys, they are actually sampling the Kermit eggplant and loved it. And so their parents walked, you can't really see the booth in that picture, but it's about 3 or 4 booths down, and that's where their parents purchased the produce. This is also was an opportunity, a different Saturday, for me to test pressure canners. This is really fun to do at our local market because this is kind of a lost art, and when the younger generation sees these pot sitting on the table. They're like, what in the world is this? So, but what happens is there's an ad that runs in the paper. Folks bring their pressure canner to me at the market, and then I test it. So this is just a brief overview of what I do at our local market, downtown New Bern. And now I'm going to turn it over to Marva Baldwin, and she's going to speak on the market that's in her community. And this vision began as a spinoff. I taught Faithful Families program at her church, and then of course the ball started rolling, brain started working, and because of that, the farmers market was started. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? If so, let me know. I generally speak a little loudly, so hopefully everyone can hear me. The Joseph Community Farmers Market is a program that comes under Genesis 457 CDC. It's located in New Bern. The motivation for the market actually came from some statistical information that we had noted. The median income in New Bern is $40,000, but there are several communities in New Bern where the median income is $8,000. And of course, with such a disparity, there are a lot of children and older people who are living below the poverty level. And so we were concerned about whether or not these people were accessing the farmers market downtown, and we found that less than 5% of that population was utilizing the farmers market. So we went about to see whether or not it would be feasible to open a farmers market that would be more accessible and more user-friendly. And once we did that survey, we found out that this was something that could benefit these communities. So with the North Carolina Transformational Grant, we were able to open a farmers market. In fact, we officially opened on Saturday, the 28th of June last year. We had worked closely with a lady who has a lot of contact with the Latino and Asian communities, and so we had included them in our advertising campaign. We had used a substantial amount of our grant in getting out the information, making sure that we were targeting communities that really needed to be targeted. And of course, we used a portion of that to purchase supplies that we knew would be needed, such as tents and containers, those kind of things. But when we opened with 4 vendors, 2 of which were very, very experienced in farmers marketing. They had been involved with farmers markets in Craven, Beaufort, and Pitt counties. And they have been very faithful vendors. The 2 that were less experienced gained a lot from those 2 who knew so much about farmers market. In fact, I gained quite a bit of information from them myself. Initially, what we did to bring in people, we offered what we called Joseph Community Farmers Bucks. And for the first 25 who came in, we gave them $4 in farmers market bucks. This was very successful, and it did bring out people. One of the things that we decided later on was that we would extend that throughout the summer, and we did just that. We only operated one Saturday in the month because this was a from the ground up farmers market. We started not really knowing a whole lot, even though we had gone to other farmers market and we had gone to some training. but it's a very different thing when you actually begin operating the farmers market. So we chose to just do that one Saturday a month, so we would have the opportunity to assess what we needed to do, and if there were adjustments that needed to be made, that we would be able to make those adjustments. And there were 3 areas that we found that we needed to really address, and those were, first of all, that we would be more inclusive in our communities, that we would be a little bit more diverse in just looking at who we would serve. The other one was transportation. Now, there were those communities wherein transportation to the market was a problem, because we were located on the edge of several of these communities, and that did pose a bit of a problem. And of course, payment methods. A lot of the people were on had SNAP cards, but we were not set up to serve that population. So over the winter, we looked at what we would do or how we could alleviate some of those concerns. And what we did were, excuse me, I need a minute. What we did accomplish, we were approved for SNAP EBT, so we will be offering that this year. As far as transportation, we had a bus that we usually use to take books to underserved communities. So one of our trucks we are using as a mobile market this year, and we have set up a partnership with the Housing Authority to use their parking lot for distribution of food and for our farmers market. So that is going to take care of a lot of the transportation issues. We are also building partnerships with agencies and benevolent institutions to help with our senior citizens, who we will be taking the farmers market, our mobile market, to senior citizens who do not necessarily have a lot of resources to purchase. And so we are looking at senior vouchers. We are also looking at partners who will help us with double bucks for those who are SNAP and EBT recipients. Finally, we are going to be doing surveys all along the way. We are going to be charting what the consumers are saying they need, ideas that they have. We want to see what their attitudes are so that we can be more strategic in our effectiveness and our efficiency. So we have a lot that we are looking forward to doing. We are still experiencing some growing pains, but we are learning a lot from those who have been in this farmers market venture for quite some time. So you will probably be getting questions from me, and hopefully we will be able to learn a lot from your experiences, as I have already today. Okay?
Okay, and I think that's all that we have. Is there any questions?
Thank you both so much. There was, just to backtrack, there was a question about whether you're participating in the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. And Kelly, it looks like you said no, that you're not currently participating in the program.
No. The samplings, the demos that I do at the New Bern Farmers Market is just a once a month. I'll either, the eggplant, of course, I serve raw. But most of the recipes, I do make something like a blueberry lemon parfait. They get the recipe, they get to sample it, and then, of course, go to the local producer to purchase.
Great, thanks. It looks like we have another question from Karen Stanley. What did you do to get the mobile market organized?
we had a bus and a truck. Those were basically used to transport books to underserved communities or to children who did not have access to a lot of books, and we give away books, we give away new books. So the little truck, we call it the little truck and the big bus. The little truck, a lot of people were familiar with, so we decided to use the little truck, which is more like one of the panel trucks, like one of the UPS trucks you see. We decided to use that to allow our farmers to take their food choices and their products to the communities, and we have established certain sites where we are able to set up, and that's basically what we will be doing at least once a month, if not twice. We're still looking at that. We're looking at the feasibility of using the little truck. But that truck is used to transport. And, of course, the farmers can meet us there. We've talked about them meeting us there. But all of the things that we need, like the tents and the tables, and even the farmers who want us to take some of their produce out, we will be doing that. So we will be using what we call the little truck, which is more like a panel truck, to take the market to the people.
Great, thank you so much. I think so. Yes, we got a big thank you over here. That's great, thank you. Well, I just wanted to review really quickly, as we've been going, we've been having some conversations in the chat box and some questions and answers. So really early on we had a question about a county where there was no one to do the SNAP accounting and asking how to handle that, and Lee responded that their county finance department had been taking care of that. So that is one way to handle that issue. There was also a question for Lee about whether they had a Spanish-speaking vendor at the market, since they were doing some outreach with Latino customers, and the answer was no, but they do have several Hmong vendors. And then Aaron was asked what kind of organizations they had partnered with on outreach, and there is a nice long list here, including Transplanting Traditions Community Farm, El Centro Hispano, UNC Nutrition Services, Refugee Health Coalition, Orange County Rape Crisis Center, several local elementary schools, the Piedmont Health Services, Porch, Table OC Health Services, the Human Rights Center, Rogers Road Community Center, and NAACP. And then there was just a little bit of a follow-up here in terms of the question about the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, and it looks like Lee commented that there's no money to expand that program, so they're not having any success getting in, and Sarah Freeman confirmed that too. So thank you all again so much for these amazing presentations, and I do want to just, we're getting really close, we only have about 5 minutes left, and just sort of see if there are any final questions, and also we had hoped to have a little bit more of a facilitated discussion. It seems like we had so much great content that it's hard to make sure we had time for it, but I don't know, Susan, Jakes, if you have any final comments, or if there was anything you wanted to bring up, or again, if there are any additional questions now, now would be the time.
Yeah, I think, this is Susan, people are welcome to continue to write questions in the chat box, but I think also it would be really kind of fun in the chat box if you all could each write kind of what inspires you most from what you learned today and what you heard today that you might want to think about how you might integrate it into your community. So this is good feedback for the presenters and just for us to process a little bit of what we've heard. So if you can write in the chat box one thing that inspires you from what you've learned today or you might want to implement with your vendors in your markets. Okay, so Leanne said pre-packaging and dollar bags, outreach strategies. I really like the idea of vouchers. Just as kind of like prepaid. This is $5 you can come and try out and spend. I'm in a meeting with the health department this afternoon, so I have great information to bring to the conversation. Yeah, that's great, really working on those partnerships. Kids classes, sounds like at your market. The nutrition food demos, oh, sorry, now we're jumping. And classes at the markets. I love the idea of having Burmese vendors and to make Burmese customers feel more comfortable at the market and find varieties they know. Food demos, good, and cheap cookbook. This was a great cookbook. Work with vendors on packaging and signage geared to various types of customers. Thank you. Focusing on simple and cheap recipes. Love the involvement with housing. Possibilities of a market of DSS buildings, huge issue for most not able to travel long distances to our markets across Wake County. Okay, thank you all for those thoughts. That's good feedback. Any last questions before we sign off for the day? So Dara, somebody did ask about the PowerPoint presentation itself. Will that be made available to the participants?
We don't have plans to make the PowerPoint available, but we are going to have the recording available.
Okay.
Right.
Well, thank you all so much for your great questions throughout the webinar. I think it really added to the conversation.
Yes, and thanks again to all of the presenters. I think you're all doing really, really amazing work and helping us to think about all of these issues in a new light. And really, really appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences with us. I think we all learned a lot.
So we also have a request in chat, Dara, if we can share this contact list, this list of email addresses so people can contact the presenters. That would be really helpful.
Sure. You mean the list, the email contact for just the presenters, not for...
Yeah, it's up there right now. If you can just email them out.
Sure.
Thanks.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, well, I think if there aren't any other questions, again, a big thank you to everyone, and thanks to everyone for participating. We really appreciate it.
Have a good day.